Welcome to the Wrestling Experience.
Where you have a famous legend / Hall of Famer come in and not make him use his catchphrase.
Damn. What's up with
For
that?
real. What's up with that?
I'm Jazzy Podcast.
And I'm Janny Podcast.
And we are here to recap Monday Night Raw, the first Raw after Extreme Rules.
Monday Night Raw, the horror show aftermath.
Well, Raw begins with the Monday Night Messiah. We get to see a little recap of what happened to Rey Mysterio and his CGI eye. The crowd is actually chanting shame at Seth Rollins as if we were like in an episode of Game of Thrones. I don't know if you've seen Game of Thrones, but you know, shame is something that I guess some listeners will understand. And
I feel like that's not a Game of Thrones reference, and that's been around for a lot longer. I mean,
know.
It is a Game of Thrones reference. It's happening, but I'm just saying, I don't think they wrote the book on that one.
I know, but like the way that they said it was like in the same vein. But anyways, he talks about Rey's eyes, or his eye coming out of his socket. The image will stay in his memories forever. It was disgusting. It was barbaric. I mean, Seth Rollins puked, for God's sake. He puked on command, right?
So he's going to puke.
And he's like, let's remember who asked for this stipulation. Rey Mysterio was the one that said eye for an eye. Rey Mysterio is the one that asked for it. And to be honest with you, Rollins makes a great point.
He's not wrong. In fact, I thought his promo was solid, how he twisted everything into the crowd turning on him, how the crowd should be shameful for what they did to him, how they turned him into this monster, this so-called monster. I thought it was very effective promo right there.
Yeah, and he talks about how actions have consequences and it's unfortunate, but we can't afford to dwell in the past. We have to move on. And I'm just like, how fascinating is it that the heels always have a great point?
It's interesting. It's interesting how, if someone just is right, you can't help but agree with them.
Absolutely. So we do have Aleister Black. He cuts Seth Rollins and he's like fighting for Rey Mysterio's honor or whatever. And he says that Rollins is the one that orchestrated all of this, that got to Rey, that basically brought Rey down to that point. And even Kevin Owens mentioned that, where he's never seen Rey Mysterio, a guy that's so nice, that's so well respected and loved by the whole community, stoop to that level.
The whole community. I also liked Aleister Black's promo. It was very short, but I thought that he had a lot of passion in what he was saying. And he was also kind of right. So now I'm like, who's more right here? But
exactly.
Before we can even debate the morality of the situation, Aleister Black rushes to the ring to try to attack Seth Rollins. And Murphy tries to stop him, but is quite unsuccessful. And then Seth Rollins starts fighting him in the ring, and I guess we're gonna have a match.
Yeah, that's it. So we do. Yeah, we have our first match of the night. We have Aleister Black versus Seth Rollins. The match was pretty good. We got to see a lot of stiff kicks and strikes from both of them, but like they were really stiff. And I'd love to see them actually get 20 minutes and just showcase their arsenal. But we got a potentially decent next feud between these two. So remember, I called it.
You called, and we're probably gonna see that at SummerSlam or, I don't know, probably SummerSlam.
Yeah, like I still want to see Aleister Black take over as the new Messiah when Rollins takes time off. And during the match, Murphy tried causing a distraction, but Aleister Black was able to hit him with 2 black masses. So not just one, but he hit him twice. And after the break, After the break, Seth Rollins, he started working on his arm with a brutal move from the top rope. He hits him with a stomp, and we get the pin. So Seth Rollins wins cleanly, but the match, ended, but the beatdown actually continued because post-match, Rollins, he goes to the ramp, but he looks back to Aleister Black, and we knew that he wasn't done. So we see a 2-on-1 beatdown, and they really worked on his arm to the point where Murphy was just kind of holding him down, just grabbing him by his neck, and Rollins is trash-talking him, and then he stomps him on his arm. So I guess taking down Aleister Black. So we might not see him for a little while. Who knows? But I think that's going to be probably the match that we're going to see at SummerSlam.
Yeah, this was a good match overall. The story was that Rollins was beating up the arm during the match, and it played into the post-match beatdown. I do like how Rollins escaped a black mass and rolled out of the ring to escape losing and was able to win in the second half of the match. It was nice. And I think this is going to build up quite a nice feud when Aleister Black comes back. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see him for a couple of weeks. Maybe Kevin Owens steps in. I'm not sure how they're going to keep the Messiah going until Black returns. I think Black is going to be the next big opponent for Seth Rollins. At least I would hope.
Like I said, it's just the one thing that's missing in this is followers. Like you call yourself the Messiah and you call yourself the leader, but the only person that's actually in your stable right now is Buddy Murphy. So
I mean, this would have been a far better gimmick in the 50s where religion was really in, or like religion is not super in nowadays in the 2020. So that's probably why.
Yeah. But next up we have our segment. We're backstage with MVP, Lashley, and Ron Simmons. And Ron Simmons talks about there being a better way and that they should think about what he said. So, like, we don't really know what Ron Simmons proposed or whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, imagine if they're bringing back the Nation of Domination and Ron Simmons is actually a heel in this.
Well, what I believe is that this whole Hurt business is very similar to the Nation of Domination. And, I didn't want to bring that up, but I kind of got vibes of that. And now it seems like that's the big elephant in the room. What is Ron Simmons trying to do? Is he trying to start a new Nation of Domination, or has he learned from his mistakes in the past?
Exactly.
And he's saying, we don't have to do it like this.
Yeah. And then we see R-Truth, and he comes in scene holding a frying pan, which I thought was pretty funny. And
of course.
He talks about Apollo being the real champ. And we thought, and then basically MVP
nice
thought
replica title, right?
Yeah, exactly.
MVP's holding a replica, not the real thing.
Exactly. And MVP talks about it being awesome if the 24/7 championship was defended tonight, and R-Truth talks about the full Nelson really hurting, and then we see a ref appear, and as R-Truth knows what's about to hit him, Shelton Benjamin hits him with a super kick, and he pins him to become the new 24/7 7-Eleven I-95 TV European heavyweight champion.
Well, that was absolutely unexpected. Shelton Benjamin, who is apparently on SmackDown, last I checked, I don't know, is just appearing. Like,
they just
flip-flop.
I
would not have predicted that. Well done. But I'm disappointed that we have a 24/7 champion that's not R-Truth. That's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, but it seems like Shelton has joined the Hurt Business. And speaking of the Hurt Business, they do make their entrance. MVP is there with the rest of his stable. And MVP talks about how he emerged as your new U.S. champion, and he did not even break a sweat. And he talks about Cruz getting hurt so badly that instead of being a fighting champion, he stayed home to nurse his wounds. So again, dude, I have to say, man, solid promo by MVP, and he's been really killing it.
And they're saying hurt neck, so I guess the implication is the full Nelson or the Master Lock is what got him.
Yeah,
now,
and basically he calls out Ricochet and Cedric Alexander, calling them Dumb and Dumber, and out come Dumb and Dumber.
like just on cue, and they're saying they've been champs before and they can be champs again. They just don't want to do it their way. And looks like MVP is up for a challenge because he says pick any two of us to fight the two of you. And Ricochet and Alexander actually have a third member. There's a third guy. They're like, we have a friend, and I'm like, oh, it's Apollo Crews. No, it's Mustafa Ali.
The returning Mustafa Ali.
We haven't seen him in a while. Wasn't he supposed to be hacking some stuff on SmackDown? Was that a thing? I haven't. There hasn't been a hacking segment on SmackDown in a long time either.
It's been a month, and you know how it is with the WWE. They love basically telling new stories and then just dropping them on a whim.
I still want to know who the anonymous Raw general manager is.
Oh my God, it's Hornswoggle, dude.
It wasn't really him. He
I
wasn't the original. He was just kind of revealed to be the more recent one. I don't know. I don't believe it. I think there's still a real anonymous Raw general manager out there.
So we do have our next match. We have 205 Live versus the Hurt Business. Lashley runs out, but he gets super kicked by all three members. So basically the whole story of the match is, listen, so we start with Ricochet and Lashley is just too powerful. Cedric, he tags in, and then he gets ragdolled, and then he gets beaten down. And everyone takes a turn beating down on Cedric Alexander. It seems like this extensive beatdown on Cedric, in my opinion, is a sign that maybe he'll join the Hurt Business, but who knows. But then it's Ricochet's turn to get in and get a beatdown from all three. And the story of the match was pretty obvious. The returning Ali would get the hot tag, and then he'd clean house, solidifying his return. And that's exactly what happened. Ali gets the hot tag, he throws Bobby Lashley outside, and then this is pretty cool. Cedric Alexander and Ricochet, they both kind of jump on Bobby Lashley outside, but they get caught. And as he's holding both of them, with let's say he's about to hit him with a chokeslam or something, Ali...
It's like he's holding both by the throat, basically, after catching one after the other.
Yeah, and then basically Ali is there, and he hits him with a sliding kick onto the announce table, so Lashley's taken out, and...
He launched him, though. it's important to note that Lashley really went flying.
Oh yeah, it was great. So like, you know, just a great sell job by Lashley. And then Shelton Benjamin also gets taken down. And in the ring we have Mustafa Ali, an MVP, and he hits him with a neck breaker and then the 450 splash for the win. So 205 Live wins.
And by MVP logic, Mustafa Ali is now the U.S. champ.
Apollo Crews is the real U.S. champ, though.
But by MVP's logic.
Exactly. Next
I'm
up,
just going with the logic here.
Yes. Next up, we have Randy Orton. He's backstage, and I thought honestly this was a really solid promo. But just to kind of recap a little bit, he talks about moments that changed our lives, and then he starts kind of listing some moments. He talks about the evolution, or the match that he had with Mick Foley, or when he became the youngest world heavyweight champion in WWE history
against Redacted, when he beat Redacted for the
title. But he's like, he kind of swerved us right there. He's like, but those are not the moments that I'm referring to. I'm talking about when I shut my eyes and I see the beatdown and the fact that I decimated Edge and the fact that I decimated Christian. And he talks about, you know, their friendships and that those friendships are gone. And it felt good to him to beat them down. And tonight with the Big Show, he's going to punt kick him and enjoy ending his career once and for all. Dude, again, Randy Orton, man, he's been so good.
Yeah, this was a very good promo. It's like there's not much more to say other than like he's been doing the same effective promo for the past few weeks about how sadistic he is, and it's super effective. So, I don't think, and I think he will kick the Big Show out of existence tonight.
I think so too.
And we'll see.
Next up, we have Ron Simmons talking to the Viking Raiders and pumping them up, but we just see that. Like, we don't see the Viking Raiders at all tonight, so it was kind of random. But hey, Ron Simmons is talking to them, and we don't really know what he's saying. I was trying to like listen really carefully, but I guess he talked about the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders working together, and that was nice. So sure. And then we have a Big Show pump up video. And next up, we have an interview with Christian. And Samoa Joe kind of goes back to his unsanctioned match where he got low blowed by Ric Flair and then punted by Randy Orton. And Christian talks about being betrayed by Ric Flair. And it doesn't go any lower than that. And he expanded on his health, saying that he doesn't feel good mentally and that he'd do it one more time if Randy Orton got what was coming from him. And, you know, he talks about how he's convinced that the Big Show is ready for Orton's traps and he can't wait for Show to knock his ass out cold.
Oh, boy. I hope that ends well for Christian. I'm a huge peep.
I'm a peep also. One more match, man.
But, yeah.
You know, I have to say, though, this show is full of segments because next up,
another one.
We have another segment. We have Sarah Schreiber who's interviewing Bianca Belair. Yeah. You want to talk about it?
She explains how she's the EST, and it means that she's basically any adjective that ends with EST, like such as strongest or roughest or quickest or I don't know. You just whatever. She's everything. Does that mean she's also like the dumbest, the worstest? I don't know.
Well,
maybe she's only the good EST.
Well, here's the thing.
It's not even a word.
Here's the thing. She talks about putting the thirstiest team in the locker room in their place, referring to the Iconics, and that's when Peyton Royce shows up, minus Bayley Kay, who's out doing some business, as Peyton Royce said, and iconic things. And then she calls Bianca the dumbest for helping Ruby Riott, and that's where Ruby Riott shows up on cue, and then tensions kind of arise when Peyton calls Liv Morgan trash. And Bianca hilariously makes fun of Peyton Royce with her iconic. I can't do it, but Bianca did a really great job. And it seems that we're going to have a match. We're going to have Peyton Royce versus Ruby Riott.
Yeah, this was a pretty good match. It's up next. It wasn't very long. And Ruby Riott finally got her win back in a beautiful sequence where she did her finishing kick. And the way Peyton Royce sold this, she fell backwards in a very dramatic way, which was funny as hell. And then Ruby picks up the win. And
let's not forget that this is Ruby's first victory in over a year. But I do have to say one thing about Peyton Royce. So Peyton does the goofy character so well and so much that we kind of forget that she's actually a really good wrestler. And I'm happy to say that we got to see that showcase on Raw. I thought both of them were really on point and they did a really good job. Her trash talking was also really great. But that trash talking actually ends up being her demise when she starts yelling at the commentators, and then Ruby took advantage and hit Peyton with the riot kick. So Ruby is really happy. She's actually showing emotions over her victory, and it was really nice to see, and hopefully this is the start of her slow climb back up.
Yeah, I'd like to see that, and I don't think this is really at the expense of Peyton Royce. I think it is 50-50. She won 2 weeks ago or so. So it's like this is going to definitely blow off to something. Iconics versus Ruby Riott and a returning Liv Morgan. Who knows? Maybe someone else joins the Iconics, and it's like a 6-woman tag type of deal.
I hear Nia Jax is not doing anything.
Oh, please. She can continue to not do anything.
Oh, come on. Well, we do have... Oh, that was so mean. So, we have a backstage segment where Charlie, she's interviewing Angel Garza, Andrade, and Zelina. Zelina cuts her off right away, and she says that, listen, we are on the same page. And she...
calls her Chucky.
Yeah, she basically talks about the Street Profits, how they've been in hiding ever since her clients have been asserting their dominance. Andrade talks about being closer to becoming Raw Tag Team Champions, and as Angel gets closer to Charlie and is about to flirt with her, the Street Profits attack them from behind like the true faces that they are.
I know, they're such good champions, upstanding citizens, great guys that would never do something as cheap as to ambush some other team before their match. Oh, wait, that's exactly what they did. And so this ended up not stopping, I guess. How did they? I don't even remember. They ended up stopping this enough for them to have their entrances, because we come back from commercial and each team has their entrance. The Street Profits coming out first, I believe, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then the other guys came out after, and before the match could even start, they just started attacking them, I guess, because, you know, they owed him one because of the terrible thing that they did. And then we have our tag team. Was it for the titles? Yes, it was, right?
No, it wasn't for the titles.
It was a non-title match. Okay, yeah, it's true, because Andrade said in his promo before saying this is going to make him one step closer to becoming the champs.
Yeah, and I have to say, the match was pretty good, and it was nice to see Andrade and Angel actually working on the same page, right? They seem to be working quite well. Towards the end, we see Dawkins come in hot, and he runs over Andrade and Angel Garza. He picks up Andrade for the electric chair as Montez goes up top, but Andrade actually slips out. He tags in Angel Garza, and then Dawkins is taken out. And then there's like kind of a little bit of a struggle between Montez and Garza on the top rope. But Montez actually gets the best of him, and he hits him with the sickest looking splash, because he actually changes the direction and the motion in midair.
Yeah, like, it was very nice.
It was beautiful.
Ford is always good at those like frog splashes type things, and this one was no different.
Yeah, so the Street Profits win, and at the end, post-match, we have Zelina who's like basically yelling at her clients while the Street Profits are celebrating with red cups on top of the announce table, and they're just basically gyrating their hips.
But unfortunately, it looks like they're not quite on the... Now Zelina's not even convinced that they're on the same page, and she needs them to prove that they're on the same page.
Tensions are a-brewing. But hey,
so this is...
do you know which team does not have any tension?
Let me guess. The team that we're going to have featured in the next segment.
The role models.
The golden role models, yes.
Exactly. Okay. And outcome...
Because clearly you love to talk about these two.
I love them. Out come Sasha and Bayley looking oh so fabulous with all of that gold around them, baby. So, they're such role models, man. And Sasha is thanking everyone in the crowd. The crowd is booing them. So, Bayley shuts them up and says to show some respect for the new Raw Women's Champion. Sasha talks about people accusing her of stealing the championship, which I agree, right? Like, she won fair and square. She talks about her opponent being handed the Raw Women's Championship by Becky, which was also true. She's not wrong. She also mentioned that Asuka almost blinded the ref, which is also true, but nobody's talking about that either. So, Bayley talks about how she, as a role model, she borrowed the shirt because somebody had to officiate the match. Like as a role model, she had to make a split decision and do the right thing, when I personally think that Bayley did the right thing. And as they're celebrating in the ring, Asuka and Kairi, they interrupt. Asuka starts saying, yelling things in Japanese, and she says that Asuka was not ready for a thief, calling Sasha a thief. And before they can actually get in the ring and start brawling, Stephanie McMahon cuts in to remind us that she started the women's evolution. Actually, I'm just kidding about that part. But
she cuts in via satellite. That's
Yes.
that's like the important note here.
Yeah, exactly. She cuts in and she talks about the match being the match between Sasha and Asuka being void, and that Sasha didn't win last night, but neither did Asuka. So therefore, next week there will be a championship match determining who the real Raw Women's Champion is. And she reminds Sasha that you can lose via pinfall, submission, DQ, and even countout, or to put it bluntly, if a certain role model gets involved, you will lose. So Sasha has her work cut out for her.
But she said it in such a way that doesn't imply that Asuka's the champion. It implies that like it's vacant. So vacant is the new women's champion.
Oh my god, Vacant is so dominant. It's ridiculous.
Once again, a dominant champion in vacant.
So after the announcement, Asuka and Kairi, they rush in because Kairi versus Bayley is up next. And personally, I thought it was a really good match between the two of them. And if this was indeed Kairi's last Raw taping, as the rumors have been stating, it was a nice way for her to go. We might see her next week because they taped 2 shows in one day. But it was really nice for Kairi to pick up that victory, don't you think?
Of course. Usually you don't win when you're going away. But Kairi hasn't been winning very much, and it would be nice to see her actually like put on a show because she used to put on such great matches when she was in NXT. So it's just a shame what's been going on recently. And yeah, she crushes it with the elbow.
Yeah, exactly.
Even Bayley went for her own elbow. It just wasn't as good.
Yeah, it's true. But like, I actually like the psychology of the match because Kairi was actually kind of hurt. Like, she hurt her elbow towards the middle of the match, and Bayley kind of took advantage of that. But as Bayley was fighting back, Kairi Sane hits her with a spinning backhand that looked great, and then she hits her with the insane elbow, but in the process, she actually hurt her arm even more. So she slowly covered Bayley, but only got a 2 count, and Bayley kind of tried to attempt to hit the Bayley to belly, but Kairi Sane reversed it, and then she rolled her up for the 3 count, so the champ was actually defeated. But let's not forget, though, that during the match, halfway, we kind of cut backstage, and Shayna Baszler is watching the match. And Charlie Caruso comes up to her and she asks her if
Shayna Baszler has the best metaphors. I just want to put that out there.
Okay.
She has the best metaphors.
I think you're being sarcastic because I thought that this whole segment was really awkward. Like, Charlie asked her if she
absolutely was.
Charlie asked her if she has any sort of interest in the match, and she's like, "Well, listen, I've dominated everyone and I still don't have a match. So I have a vested interest in this match, just like a shark has a vested interest in its prey in the water." Like,
now, what a stupid question though. Like, are you interested in a match featuring one of the dominant women champions in the company? No. As a woman myself who's in the same division, I have no interest in watching the champion. Like, very, very dumb question. Really.
I think Charlie was still smitten by Angel Garza.
Chucky needs to be more professional. She needs to get over Angel Garza because this is just unacceptable.
I'm telling you, she's not a real journalism. So, Drew McIntyre. Yes.
Awkward, like in between segment, in between the match with Shayna Baszler. No, it was unnecessary. Could have happened after.
Yeah, I agree. But I guess it's to bring up the point that, like, Shayna is kind of lurking, and Shayna can attack anytime that she wants. So at the end of the match, we see Kairi.
Those ninjas from last week.
Yeah. So towards the end of the match, we see Kairi and Asuka celebrating, and Bayley and Sasha can't believe it, and back to the drawing boards because it's going to be a doozy for Sasha next week. But we do have Drew McIntyre. He's up next, but he gets stopped by Sarah Schreiber, and she asks him about his condition. And he says that, listen, he's still champion, he feels good, and he's ready to talk about the future of Drew McIntyre. And out he comes looking like $1 million.
Classic Drew McIntyre, always dressed to impress.
Yeah, and, he actually talks about the stipulation being brilliant. He gives Dolph Ziggler credit, and he says that Dolph took advantage of, to beat him down. But, there's always a but, almost winning is the story of Ziggler's entire career. Oof, what a burn.
Ouch.
And basically, yeah, go on.
He did put over Dolph Ziggler somewhat.
I guess.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Yeah. He addresses SummerSlam now, and he wants a worthy opponent, and out comes Dolph Ziggler. Great. It should have been him.
Well, if anyone should be Drew McIntyre's opponent at SummerSlam, it should be Dolph Ziggler.
Well, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and
it should be him.
Dolph Ziggler talks about seeing fear in Drew's eyes, and he hadn't seen that type of fear in years. And he talks about being so close to winning, And Drew McIntyre just kind of turns him down. He's like, listen, the answer is no. And he knocks him out, and, his music starts playing, and he leaves the ring. And then Dolph Ziggler is on the ground. He gets on the mic, and he starts pleading. He's like, listen, you son of a bitch. He's like, I deserve it. I'm sorry. I'm just repeating what Dolph Ziggler said.
That is true. But whoa.
I'm sorry. He said that he deserved it. And he said, listen, you can name the stipulation. Give me the match. Name the stipulation anytime, anywhere. But I just want this match. And then Drew McIntyre kind of thinks about it. He's like, any stipulation, huh? He's like, all right, fine. You changed my mind. I agree. And it's so funny because someone in the crowd actually yells out, eye for an eye.
Yes, that was funny. Whoever that guy is in NXT, he's like, I don't know, isn't his job kind of on the line?
Yeah.
But whatever.
And basically Drew agrees, and turns out that, we find out that the match will be next week. So we don't know what the stipulation is because Drew said that you made me wait 2 weeks and you told me before the match, so I'm going to do the same. I'm not going to let you know what the stipulation is before. So clearly it's not going to be a steel cage match because imagine, they get in the ring and then Drew's like, I want a steel cage. And then all of a sudden, they have to, build a steel cage. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Imagine that. Imagine, not telling them there's going to be a steel cage. And then they're like, oh, no. The production crew's like, we didn't prepare for a steel cage. You can't use that stipulation. What do you mean I can't use that stipulation? I want a steel cage match. And then they're just trying to make a steel cage happen. In fact, I wonder how they would put I guess they could put a steel cage in Full Sail. Why not?
Maybe.
But yeah, we. If anything, as long as it's not an Extreme Rules for Drew McIntyre match only, I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine too. Obviously, Drew's gonna win that. But before our main event, which is the Unsanctioned Match, we do have a promo from the Big Show. I thought it was pretty solid, man. Some great acting. He talks about, his match coming up next. He talks about Randy Orton's incredible year, taking Edge down, taking away Christian's dream of one more match. And he talked about the voices in Randy Orton's head got too loud, and they started telling him not to have any empathy, not to have any passion. And then he starts telling stories about his time with Randy Orton, with, Randy Orton growing up in the business. And Show said that he looked into a mirror and he asked a very hard question. Is this the end of the line for the Big Show? And he has this analogy where he talks about, here's the thing about tigers. When they're near the end, they do anything and everything to survive. And this old tiger is going to do anything and everything to make sure he survives Randy Orton. So we kind of know what the end result is going to be of this unsanctioned match. But I thought, honestly, that this promo was really, really solid from the Big Show.
It was. There was one thing I'd like to point out, though. This is not the main event because it's an unsanctioned match. The main event was, in fact, Bayley versus Kairi. Sane.
Yes, you are so smart, my friend.
And yes, the voices in Randy Orton's head are quite loud, and they've been very loud lately. He did grant Christian his dream of one more match because he did kind of have a match. It wasn't really a good one. But yeah, Big Show's on fire, and I'm really rooting for him, but I suspect he bit off more than he can chew here.
Yeah, the match was okay. It wasn't, amazing or something like that, right? It was all Randy Orton. I mean, it was all Big Show kind of, controlling most of the match until Randy Orton just hit him with an RKO, right?
Pretty much, and then he busted out the weapons. Big Show was dominant early, and then RKO and weapons, and there's the equalizer, pretty much. There was not much to say other than that. There was some shenanigans, too, featuring Andrade and Angel Garza, who are on the same page, clearly, because they came out together to attack Big Show. Mm-hmm. They did get attacked by the Viking Raiders, and then all kinds of stuff happened during the match. Later on, Big Show actually takes an RKO, and he kicks out of it. He also went through a table, but unfortunately, he couldn't kick out of another RKO after that, and Randy Orton wins. But Randy Orton wasn't done after winning, of course. He went for the punt, and he got all of it.
Oh, yeah, and then he just basically, started yelling at the Big Show, saying that, you asked for this, and look what you made me do, and another legend down. And the show ends that way. Randy Orton standing tall and looking oh so dominant.
Very much so, and I wonder what's next for him. We know that Drew McIntyre, we were suspecting that Drew McIntyre might be his next opponent, even though he's not a legend, but he might be the only deserving person for a title shot at this point. Dolph Ziggler does have his match next week on Raw. So that should close the book on that. And then Randy Orton's not going to really do anything. He might get involved in the match. I'm not sure. It's interesting to see what they're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stories going on Monday Night Raw, and it is very intriguing. I just think that maybe Randy Orton is going to go so far that maybe Drew McIntyre, as the champion on Monday Night Raw, is going to defend that person's honor. We don't know who that person is, but I think that could be something like that, where Randy Orton takes Drew McIntyre to the limits and maybe kind of tantalizes him, or kind of like, or maybe he wants him to bring out the Scottish psychopath, something like that. Like, you never know. I think that they can do a lot of things with Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton, but I think it's going to be a killer feud, and I don't think that there's anyone more fitting than Randy Orton to challenge Drew McIntyre. So with SummerSlam coming in a couple of weeks, man, like they are gonna have to start building to something.
Yeah, I mean, there's time, right? There's a lot of time. Isn't SummerSlam end of August? So there's probably at least
there's a month. Yeah, exactly. There's about a month of build up. But yeah, like, I mean, again, I just don't see anyone else that could challenge Drew McIntyre, to be quite honest with you.
And look, I mean, I don't think even Randy Orton can challenge Drew McIntyre, because Randy Orton got crushed by Brock Lesnar a couple of SummerSlams ago, and Drew McIntyre made Brock Lesnar look like a chump at WrestleMania. So I expect Drew McIntyre to just, crush him. But I guess Randy Orton has since been in the greatest wrestling match ever, so he's probably a lot better. Yeah. I don't know.
So that was basically Raw in a nutshell. I thought that it was pretty much middle of the road. I didn't have any problems with the matches themselves. I just thought that there were too many segments, like too many backstage segments, like too many interviews. And the more I think about it, like, Raw will be a perfect 2-hour show, but I mean, we can talk about it so many times, and other people can talk about it so many times. I just don't see them going back to 2 hours, so this is what we have. But
no, because as soon as you go back to 2 hours, it's sort of like admitting defeat. Like, I'm sure Vince McMahon's like, if I go back to 2 hours, I've admitted defeat that I can't put on 3 hours of quality programming every Monday.
I guess so. So I mean, to be honest with you, again, like, this is the end of the big show. Who knows? Like, we don't know. But I think that the storyline of Randy Orton being this dominant heel is great. Like, I'm really loving it. The whole thing about the Viking Raiders talking with Ron Simmons and, like, the Street Profits and everything like that. Like, what's going on with the Raw tag team title scene? I think that's also interesting. Have we seen the last of Kairi Sane, and what's going to happen between Sasha Banks and Asuka? I personally feel like this could be the moment where Bayley is going to try to interfere, or something's going to happen, and then Asuka is going to end up winning, and there's going to be tension between Sasha and Bayley. I think this is the moment. And it was really, really nice to see Mustafa Ali coming back, although I thought that he was on SmackDown, but it seems that he's now on Raw. So yeah, like, it's,
which is totally fine.
Yeah, and also, again, just super excited to see the potential of Seth Rollins and Aleister Black. So, now that I'm listing all these things, I'm like, they're doing a lot of good things. And let's not forget the Hurt Business. Like, you really have to give credit to MVP for, I guess, reinvigorating his career and just kind of, giving it like another, breath of fresh air. So the Raw is doing so many good things. I just think that they can cut down on some of these backstage segments and kind of give us longer matches, because I felt that, some of the matches were a little short, and they could have given them an extra 5 minutes to breathe, and the matches would have been even better. But overall, like I said, middle of the pack Raw, decent. I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, overall, solid episode of Raw. Nothing crazy special, nothing terrible, just solid, like 7 out of 10-ish. Had a good time. Few matches were good. Nothing really progressed forward. A lot of stuff was like getting wrapped up from Extreme Rules, which should have been the thing that wrapped up most of these things, but clearly Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre are not done. Sasha and Asuka are not done, so there's just more.
But yeah, so that was our recap for Monday Night Raw. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at The Wrestling Experience. You guys can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, Spreaker. We're everywhere. We're even on YouTube now, so make sure to check all that information in the description below, and we will see you guys in the next one.
Yo, have you figured out what to do with all those referee t-shirts?
Well, I don't know. I mean, if our business kind of picks up, maybe we can just kind of sell them and turn them for a profit, Maybe kind
Absolutely.
of like the Wrestling Experience referee t-shirts.
Yes, so you can officiate anything at any time, no matter the situation. Someone's having a disagreement at your barbecue, come on in, put your shirt on, and start settling it like civilized people.
You could even officiate a wedding.
Yes, Of course. Need to get married, put on your referee shirt and just pronounce them husband and wife, or husband and husband, or wife and wife, however that works. It's all good.
You know what? You know what's really funny? Instead of having ads playing at the end of our podcast, to kind of hopefully make some money one day, it'll be so funny if we actually post our own ads. So we're posting our first ad of our Wrestling Experience referee T-shirt. Thank you very much.